Good evening, and thanks to Al family and Said for inviting me to this event. Uh, as everybody knows that lately Israel enacted the Jewish nation state law. This law was criticized internationally and locally. This law says that the land of Israel, meaning historic Palestine, is the land of the Jewish people, and the only right of self-determination to be exercised in this land is only for the Jewish people, and the group rights in this land will be exercised only by the Jewish people, and the citizenship will be only based on the law of return, as Susan explained, meaning only for the Jewish people. The main question is, why to enact this law? Israel always exercised itself as a Jewish state. Israel doesn't need this law to say that I am a Jewish state. In fact, we know that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, even asked the chair and the president of the Palestinian Authority to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. So why the state, Israel, need this law? Why to invite in advance international critique? Why to invite critique that in advance this government was warned that the world will see this law as colonial law and will perceive Israel regime as apartheid regime? In fact, the last constitution on the world that has similarity to that, it was the South Africa Constitution, which said that South Africa is the land of the white groups, but also they added other groups like Asians and others. In fact, the Jewish nation state law compared to South Africa is more extreme. And at that time, when South Africa enacted what they call the new constitution of South Africa, it was criticized strongly by the Security Council of UN, and they said that it's illegitimate. So why to have it? Why to enact it? Israel always exercised the superiority of one group without putting that in laws. We are after 50 years of the occupation of West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem. There is no law in Israel saying that this area is occupied area. The people of East Jerusalem, the Palestinians, are residents of the state, not citizens. There is no law saying that they are residents. The Palestinian citizens of Israel were under military regime until 1966. There is no law saying that. The Palestinian refugees has no right to return without any law saying that. And the citizenship law, which Susan spoke about it, came late 4 years after the establishment of Israel. Meaning in Israel were members of the parliament without citizenship, because the first parliament was elected in 1949. So why to have this law? I want to speak about different concepts of self-determination regarding Israel-Palestine question, and to understand those three concepts that I am going to refer to it, we will understand why the right wing of Israel enacted this law. The first concept of the right of self-determination is based on two states for two peoples. This concept is shared by the Palestinian Authority and Israel Zionist liberals. Israel Zionist liberals believe that Israel is a Jewish and democratic state. Jewish and democratic state meaning that, and this is what the Israeli Supreme Court said, Israel must keep Jewish majority. Israel must keep the law of return. Israel must keep the denial of the rights of Palestinian refugees, and Israel must keep superiority, Jewish Hebrew superiority in group rights. And Israel is democratic state because the Palestinian citizens of Israel exercise the right of vote, based on one man, one vote. Meaning you have in the Knesset, Israel parliament, Palestinians. So Israel is not apartheid. Israel is democratic because the basis of democracy is to the right of political participation. So based on the border of this concept, Jewish and democratic state, more and less the borders are the green line, more and less. Because the border depends on the concept of democracy. And the concept of democracy depends on the existence of the Palestinian citizen of Israel. Where they exercise their right of political participation, there is democracy. That means that if Palestinian member of the parliament won't be in the Knesset will be like apartheid. So the Palestinians exercise this right more or less in the green line. But that means that the Palestinian will be second-class citizen because of the law of return and the group rights. And at the same time, Palestinian refugees are not part of this state. The Palestinian Authority share the same concept without using the same terms. Palestinian Authority see Israel as sovereign state occupied the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem in the border of 1967. Israel is sovereign state. Israel also, because the long occupation, it became colonial regime in the West Bank, especially West Bank and Jerusalem. Why? Because there are two different citizenship. One for the Israeli Jewish settlers and one of the Palestinians in West Bank and East Jerusalem. The Palestinian Authority, because they use only the law of occupation, they don't perceive that this concept that they speak about colonialism exists also in the Green Line. Because in the Green Line you have two different groups, Jewish group and Palestinian, and differentiation in citizenship. But they see Israel as independent sovereign state. All the matters inside the Green Line is matter of internal sovereignty of Israel. It's not matter of the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian authorities say that the settlements in the West Banks are illegal based on the international humanitarian law. But they don't say the same thing about Jewish settlements that they were built in Palestinian villages inside Israel through land confiscation. And they don't speak about the problem of the Palestinian refugees as part of the law of occupation, because the law of occupation doesn't refer to that. So this is why both of them, Israel Zionist Liberal and the Palestinian Authority, each share the same concept of sovereignty. So now we come to the Jewish nation state law. Jewish nation state law share much of the concept of the Zionist liberals. They speak about the right of self-determination only for Jewish people, group rights only for Jewish people, denying the right of return of Palestinians, citizenship based on the law of return. But there is one thing that they don't share with the Zionist liberal, which is very, very crucial for understanding their concept for self-determination. If you're just 2 minutes left, I didn't start. Look, I am not lawyer in England that I have to get to the point directly. I am from the Middle East. Until we got warm, it takes time for us. It takes time. And also Palestinian, and you know what? I am the only non-English speaker among all of you. So I am a lawyer. I need more time, so give me another 5. So,
The timekeeper, I didn't ask
yeah.
for that job.
So there is one crucial point that this law makes it different than the concept of Jewish and democratic state and the concept of the Palestinian Authority. They don't demand the most important thing, to keep Jewish majority. Jewish and democratic state means Israel must keep Jewish majority. The Jewish nation-state law doesn't have this important, crucial point that Israeli students all the time, the legal and not legal students, law and not law students, all the time were taught Israel as Jewish and democratic state as one of its factors, Jewish majority. So here, there is no Jewish majority and no borders, because this law doesn't care about discussing the concept of democracy. The only thing that this law is care about is control Palestine, historic Palestine. It doesn't matter whether Jews will be majority or not, because to control West Bank, you cannot keep Jewish majority. So their concept of self-determination is to be exercised in West Bank and East Jerusalem. Of course, the other components, the same with the Zionist liberal. This is why there is debate in Israel about it. But now, both concepts are problematic, because both concepts, the first one, both the Palestinian citizens, second-class citizenship, it's sort of apartheid, denying the right of return of Palestinian. The second, put all the Palestinians together as second-class citizens. So in order to exercise this concept of self-determination of the right wing, you need laws. Before, you didn't need laws, because you are majority in the green line by action. But now you are exactly like South Africa. You are not the majority. In order to keep the separation and segregation, you need laws. And because there is debate about the concept of self-determination between the Zionist left, Palestinian Authority on one side, and the right wing, you need laws to emphasize your concept. So this is why this law was enacted. This is why they need this law, and this is why later we hear many new laws that this government enacting. In the past, they exercised power without law. But now, when the population half and half, with the denying of half and half, half Palestinians, half Israeli Jews under Israel regime, you need laws to make the segregation. Not in Nablus only, not in Ramallah, also in Al-Fahm, in the Galilee, in the south. This is why all of you started to hear lately about Palestinian citizens of Israel. In the past, it was neglected subject. You started to hear about it because those kind of laws. Of course, the third concept is the concept of Wadie Said. You have to give me 1 minute to speak about it. Okay. The last concept is of self-determination is one state solution. Professor Wadie Said in the 80s was supporting two-state solution. And after Oslo, he started to believe in one-state solution, in the meaning that partitioning is not the solution. The solution is the rights. You have to speak about rights of the two peoples first, and there is no possibility of partitioning. So we have three concepts of self-determination. One, two states for two peoples, which also about separation. One of the right wing, and one is the third one, is one state. I think that also one state solution, to put it as demand, is in the end, like it's connecting the rights with statehood. and many questions will be raised, and they are raised. For example, if the Palestinian Authority already reached that the settlements in the West Bank are illegal, and the world support that, why to come and to say one-state solution now and to give it legitimacy? But of course, one-state solution is not about that. One-state solution speaking about equality for all. I think that the Palestinian people must drop speaking about linked right with statehood. Not one state, not two states, not three states. The concept should come back to the right of self-determination of Palestinian people. This is the most important thing. It's not the statehood. First, to speak about the right of self-determination of Palestinian people, meaning their right to govern in any place in Palestine, including, of course, right of return, and equality in every place in Palestine. And then the partitioning won't be a problem. But we have to come back to the language of rights and to speak as rights first and not the states. And this, I think, was the policy of the PLO in the 60s and the 70s when it gained the support of Palestinian people and speak on about the rights of all the Palestinian people. So this is why I think the strong thing for the Palestinian people today is to speak about the most important concept on the international human rights law, which is the Article 1 of each important covenant, the right of self-determination of every people. This is what we have to speak about it, and not about statehood, and not about partitioning. Then it doesn't matter how you go with the partitioning after you save and secure the rights. Thank you.